Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I want to share a more heartfelt, personal message with you. First, I want to say to each of you how much your testimonies and encouraging words mean to me. I have shared my passion for whole grains and freshly milled flour for more than 35 years now, and I never get tired of hearing the words, "It's the bread," or "This bread has changed my life." I often hear people say that these stories are anecdotal and there is no science behind them, and it can't be proven that it was the bread that brought these changes. But when you hear hundreds of the same stories, that moves beyond anecdotal and encourages some research to find the scientific evidence for these remarkable changes in health, which is exactly what I have done for the past 35 years. And what an exciting journey it has been. When I first started on my milling journey way back in 1991, more than 35 years ago, my diet was fairly healthy. Our diet consisted mostly of real meat, fresh fruits and vegetables, some from our garden, real eggs, real butter. I did bake a lot of our bread, muffins, and pancakes and biscuits, of course, all from scratch, but mostly using white flour or a mixture of store-bought whole wheat and white flour, believing these to be healthy options. But when I learned of the health benefits of real whole grains and the option of milling my own flour at home, I was convinced that this was the way to even better health for me and my family. My husband, Brad, bought me a grain mill for my birthday in February of 1991, and I went all in. No more white flour for us. Instead, it was bread made from freshly milled flour or other whole grains. Every meal, every day, every way. Pancakes, muffins, pizza, bread, cinnamon rolls, cakes, cookies, cornbread, and biscuits, or boiled grain salads. And all were absolutely delicious. But I will have to say, I was shocked at the immediate and noticeable changes in my health. I know you've probably heard me say this many times before, but from day one, my struggle with chronic constipation ended. Despite eating mostly real food and trying multiple natural options. With the constipation-causing white flour out of my diet and now the abundant fiber of freshly milled flour in, my bowel issues were completely resolved, never to return. I realized right away that adding the daily fiber from my delicious bread was the key. It wasn't rocket science. Dr. Dennis Burkitt brought the importance of fiber to the attention of the medical world in the 1970s with what came to be known as Burkitt's fiber theory. But his research proved that fiber in the diet served as more than just roughage and a bowel broom. Dr. Burkitt was an Irish-born surgical oncologist who served as a medical missionary in Africa. While there, he saw firsthand that many Western diseases, including coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, gallstones, diverticular disease of the colon, appendicitis, hiatus hernia, colorectal cancer, varicose veins, hemorrhoids, venous thrombosis, obesity, and even hypertension scarcely existed in these developing countries, and he attributed these differences to the profound differences in diet, mainly the amount of fiber in the diet. Over time, he came to believe that a low-fiber diet was related in all of these diseases and greatly increased their risk. And a 2018 medical review stated this about Dr. Burkett's findings. Simply grouping these diseases together as having a common cause was groundbreaking. I have always been amazed at the many and varied health changes that not only myself experienced, but also the many stories that others have shared when freshly milled flour and more whole grains were made a part of a daily diet. And studying Dr. Burkett's research lets me know that the increased fiber alone can play a big role in all of these benefits. But thankfully, whole grains, including freshly milled wheat flour, provide more than just extra fiber. I will never forget the phone call I received early one morning, shortly after I had begun baking and sharing my real bread with others. I answered the phone to hear these words. "It's the bread. It's got to be the bread." She was overjoyed to tell me that her blood cholesterol had dropped 85 points in just 1 month of eating the bread every day. She was rejoicing and explained for more than 3 years on multiple medications to try to lower her cholesterol levels, nothing had worked. But in this 1 month, and the only change she made was eating this bread, seeing this significant drop, she knew it had to be the bread. Coincidental? Anecdotal? I had to find out what was in this bread that could help someone break down and utilize their cholesterol to get it out of their blood and to all of the cells and tissues where it is desperately needed. In my research, I discovered that every nutrient to break down and emulsify fat and cholesterol to allow it to benefit our health is in whole grains, particularly freshly milled wheat, and therefore the real bread I was making. Inositol, choline, vitamin B6, magnesium, and the phospholipid lecithin are all abundantly supplied in wheat and are all essential nutrients for lowering blood cholesterol levels. Lowering these levels is an indication that your body is being provided with the nutrients needed to break down cholesterol so that it can be used by every cell of your body. And do not think cholesterol is only critical in heart disease. Cholesterol is the precursor of every one of our sex hormones, anti-inflammatory hormones, vitamin D, as well as a vital component in maintaining the stability of the membrane of every cell in our body. So is it any wonder or strange that someone who adds freshly milled whole grain bread to their daily diets might see many and varied health improvements from the nutrients it supplies? Anecdotal? Coincidental? Well, I never like to emphasize the importance of one nutrient over another. But would it be surprising from this one benefit alone you might see inflammatory markers decrease and hormonal issues improve? And if every cell in your body is strengthened, what else might you experience? And now, 35 years later, this phone call and her testimony were just the first. We have hundreds just like it. And some are so excited that they even send me their lab results. Anecdotal? I don't think so. When you give your body the nutrients it needs, it can do what it was created to do. And real bread made from freshly milled flour is an abundant supplier of the nutrients our bodies desperately need. And I've only begun to scratch the surface of the scientific evidence that the nutrients supplied by whole grains, including our bread from freshly milled flour, can indeed bring exceptional and varied improvements. The B complex vitamins abundantly supplied by wheat and other whole grains are known for their role in the metabolism of fats and carbohydrates, providing us with energy as well as their contribution to our nervous system and our emotional well-being. So when someone testifies that this bread, real bread made from freshly milled whole grain, helped with their anxiety, I am not surprised. And then we've heard numerous testimonies of almost miraculous healing of severe skin issues treated unsuccessfully for years with conventional medicine. 2 that I recall were in so much pain they wanted to die. Both of these, when the bread was added and the good nutrients supplied, saw near miraculous recovery one in about a week, the other over the course of a few months. The stinging, horrific pain and rash gone. Let's not forget that two of the first epidemic diseases to surface in the early 1900s, when white flour replaced the freshly milled whole grain flour of the day, were beriberi, a vitamin B1 deficiency resulting in nervous disorders, and pellagra, caused by a vitamin B3 deficiency resulting in horrible skin eruptions, likened by some to leprosy, as well as dysentery and dementia of vitamin B3 deficiency. If the removal of the nutritious Brannan germ, and in turn the loss of these important B vitamins from our flour and bread, a once common daily food, would almost immediately cause such outbreaks of disease, does it not make sense that providing these nutrients by retaining the Brannan germ portions in freshly milled flour would not only prevent but reverse similar diseases with similar presentations of symptoms? I will close for now, though I haven't even touched on the importance of vitamin E needed by every cell in your body. I'll save that for another time. Wheat is one of the richest food sources of vitamin E found in the germ portion, but lost in its removal from commercially processed flour. And no amount of vitamin E at all is added back in the enrichment of the commercially processed flour today. It is interesting to me when people, especially scholarly ones, hear the testimonies of others and write them off as anecdotal and scoff at the idea of this bread being some sort of miracle cure. Now, I'm the first to admit and reply to people who reach out to me asking if this bread will help with their particular health issue or disease. I respond that I simply do not know. But what I do know is what others have told me, and that there is scientific reasons why it might help. And that whether it will cure this ailment or not, I do not know. But I do know that it certainly wouldn't hurt, and it should certainly improve your bowel issues, your energy, and your overall quality of life. I will never forget a testimony from a homeschooling mom years ago at a convention where she heard me speak. The following year at the convention, she shared her story of how the bread had dramatically helped her son. Her son had cystic fibrosis, and a common issue with cystic fibrosis is severe constipation and impacted bowels, requiring regular medical intervention to release the bowels. She told me that the bread had resolved this issue, relieving her son of this horrible discomfort and need for medical treatment. She actually encouraged me to reach out to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation so that others could learn and find help with this one struggle. Did it reverse her son's cystic fibrosis? No. Did it improve his quality of life? Absolutely, yes. This past week, I've been intrigued by the insinuation of presenting real bread made from freshly milled flour as a miracle cure. So I looked up the definition of miracle cure. Here's what the dictionary defines as a miracle cure: a successful treatment for a disease that was thought impossible to cure. Is this real bread a miracle cure? You be the judge. I will close with a quote from the late Dr. John McDougall, who, after years of using conventional medical treatment and not seeing patients get well, pioneered the idea of a simple whole food diet to treat disease. He accidentally, if you want to call it that, attended one of Dr. Dennis Burkitt's lectures. Here is what he later stated. Prior to hearing Dr. Dennis Burkitt's revolutionary ideas, I believed that the common chronic diseases I was learning about were all unsolvable mysteries, perhaps due to viral infections or genetic mishaps. After his presentation, I realized for the first time that being a doctor might mean more than treating the signs and symptoms of my suffering patients with pills and surgeries. Common diseases could be prevented, possibly cured, by eating simple, inexpensive foods. Dr. John McDougall absolutely believed in the amazing health benefits of whole grains. As always, I thank you for listening today. Be encouraged. God has given us an abundance of food to nourish our bodies, and I, for one, am very thankful for real bread made from freshly milled flour. Keep your testimonies coming. They encourage me more than you will know. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.